Thank you again for joining it.
Okay, hello, my name is Brad Brown. I was invited by Pam to speak today to you all after she heard me speak at a ribbon cutting of a company that I'm part owner in. I just want to start with a little bit of background of how I was brought up. That's kind of the way I started at the ribbon cutting. I was originally born in Florence, South Carolina. I was raised on a 60-acre farm through half my childhood before my father and mother moved us up here to Virginia to follow my dad's career with GE. And my mom's, was a stay-at-home mom. She was raised on the tobacco farm. My dad was in the Marine Corps in Vietnam. They taught me work ethic. So growing up on a farm and everything, a lot of people that are in Bedford may relate to that. So, but growing up on a farm teaches you a lot about work ethic. Not to say that you have to be brought up on a farm to know work ethic. So after that, and going through high school here in Central Virginia, and then going into the workforce afterwards, I was very mechanically inclined through being taught from my dad, because that's kind of what he did in the Marine Corps. So I started out as an automotive machinist, being trained as an automotive machinist here in Central Virginia. And after learning that trade, the company kind of handed the shop part of that business over to me. So I was responsible for ordering materials I needed, consumables, quoting jobs, and doing the work itself and handling customers. So that kind of instilled in me what I wanted to do. I wanted to own my own shop. I wanted to be my own boss, own my own shop, that kind of thing. So, but I was doing that for not very much pay. So to progress in life, I looked for another job. I went, and then I was doing custom exhaust and brakes and things like that for another company here in Central Virginia that paid me quite a bit more. And from there, I applied again, trying to progress through the workforce, to a company called Wexco Corporation. I worked there for 15 years, was very interested in what they did. That's how I got into machining, like running a CNC lathe like this, or CNC mills and manual stuff. They had a niche product in the world. And so through there, I always asked questions about, why do I do this? And my dad always told me I always did that, and he loved that about me, was I'm always asking questions about, why am I doing this? Why does that work this way? I was always interested in what I was doing. So I did that a lot at Wexco, and that, management paid attention to that. So Wexco ended up sending me to school while I was working second shift, sending me back to CVCC to go to school for engineering, like an associate's degree in engineering. And as long as I got a B average or above, then they were paying the full bill. So I took advantage of that. Then they moved me into, after a couple of years of school, and I never received the degree, they moved me into the office in the engineering department. Not saying you don't need the degree, please finish the degree if you start it. They moved me into the engineering department, to where I worked there for 12 years. And again, look at every aspect of the business. And now I'm in the office, so I can pay attention to, what does accounts payable do? What does accounts receivable do? What does the sales crew do? How are things ordered from the company? Was it much different from when I was at the automotive machine shop? Paid attention to what are all documents called, the invoices, packing slips, bill of lading, all types of things, all aspects of the company, because I knew what my goal was to be an entrepreneur and start my own shop and be bigger than just a small little shop that may not pay attention to what all the documents are, or all the departments and what they do. So from there, I went back to school again, and Wexco's paying for it. And I went for a business administration degree, or business management, I can't remember. But involved in that is taking micro and macroeconomics classes, which then, and math classes and things like that. So in that, I actually learned a lot about how business works, and why things happen, not only in the country, but in the world and in your neighborhood, as far as economics. And I started really cluing into how a business needs to be ran and how I need to find out how to start a business, people to speak to, government entities to talk to, and documentation that needs to be filed. So after 15 years at Wexco, I finally went out on my own with the blessing of my wife and my kids and family and friends. And at the same time, there's people that say, "Are you really know what you're getting into? You know how much hard work that's going to be? You sure you want to do this? You're not going to be able to pay yourself for a year. Are you ready for this?" Well, you're always going to hear people say, well, the naysayers, or you don't really want to, I don't think you want to do that. It's going to be too much work. You got a good job now. Well, the thing about entrepreneurs is, successful entrepreneurs is, no is just a word. It's not a dead end. So you continue to move on after someone says no, or you don't want to do that, or it's going to be tough, because entrepreneurship is in someone's, it's not in their blood. They're not born with it, but it's in their soul to want to be able to be their own boss and lead. If you have people who work for you, to lead them in a direction that everyone needs to go in order to be successful, not just the company or the owner, but the people, the workers also. So everybody becomes like a team. So after I started my business, well, actually, let's go back just a little bit while I was working at Wexco. I always saw myself, since I wanted to start my own business, I always saw myself while I was an employee or a worker, I always saw myself as a company. I was a company, even though I wasn't registered with the state as a company, I was a company that sold labor, because I was a laborer and that was my product. And in order to do well as a laborer, I needed to sell a good product. Just like any other company in the world, if you don't sell a good product, you don't have customers. Wexco was my customer. And if I served that customer well, I would do well, and they would pay me well. And they did. They were a good company to work for. So one thing towards people entering the labor force or anything like that, when you start in a job, see yourself as a company, not just as an employee. Something, don't put yourself up against the company because you're an employee. You'll work with people that do that. See yourself as a company selling labor. You need to sell a good product. You will advance through. And now if the company, just like owning a business, if a customer doesn't treat you well as a company and you know you're doing a good job, then it's time to move on. Same thing goes once you get into owning a company. If you have customers that don't pay well, don't pay on time, always arguing with you about something, always returning stuff, and you know you're doing a good job, then, and you can find better customers, then that's what you do. So start out when you enter the workforce, seeing yourself as a company, not as an employee that a company owes something. See yourself as a company that needs to earn its way into being successful. One thing you'll notice too, when you think that way, you may get into a workforce group that, and I heard this several times, that while you're trying to do better for yourself, other people will say, "Hey, look, you need to slow down. You're making us look bad. You're making me look bad," or something like that. Don't listen to that. You have your goals set and you move forward with making yourself look good. And you can tell them, "Hey, I'm not making you look bad. I'm making me look good because I have goals to reach." So, and just leave it at that and just keep on going down the path, because that was one naysayer you just passed by. And then don't work day to day. Work with goals, long-term goals and short-term goals. My long-term goals when I first started at Wexco, when I knew that I would be able to make enough money to set money to the side, was set that money to the side and where it can earn interest or something like that, and just leave it alone. Don't even think about it. If you want to take a beach trip with your friends, don't even think about that money. It's not there for a beach trip. And that money will start making money for you. So that's to reach your goal of being an entrepreneur and starting up, because it's going to take money. There's There are government programs to help you do that, and you need to do the research to find those things out. However, they're going to want your skins in the game, and skins is not just knowledge or elbow grease or working hard. It comes down to cash and money. So make sure that you start saving up well ahead of time for that. So then once you get into entrepreneurship and you start your own business, depending on what type of business you start, you're going to have people who work for you. People use the term employee. I don't usually use the term employee because I feel like I hire people to work with me, not for me, because a good entrepreneur is going to be a leader and not a boss. They're two different things. The leader knows the plan, shares the plan, and directs people along that path. So when I hire people to work with me to be on my team, they are that. I could hire somebody that's fresh in the machining and the shop runs into a problem where we can't get something done. We consult everyone, and that fresh mind could come up with the idea to fix something, to do a part better. So always treat the people who work with you as assets and not consumables, because a consumable, if you're not sure what that is, a consumable is something a company will buy, and they're going to use that in production, in my type of work, in production, in order to produce a part, and then that consumable is used up and it's done. It's expensed out. The company gains no ground besides producing parts from purchasing that consumable. And once it's used up, it's gone. It's either discarded or recycled or something like that. So we have to see employees as assets, because when you do that, when an employee walks in the door, and especially as they stay there long and longer and they learn more, they become even more of an asset because of their knowledge. And when you treat people as an asset instead of a consumable, they know they're not going to be discarded after they're used up. They'll do more and more for you. But be prepared as a business owner to do more for them, because it's a two-way street. And I've also always explained to the people I hire, I give them the speech of see yourself as a company, and let them know straight up, if I'm not treating you well enough and you think you're doing me a good job, by all means, you should do due diligence for yourself and your family, your loved ones, or whoever, and look for a better customer. But I know that I've followed those rules for years, and I'm going to do as a business owner well for that person that works on the team, because they're doing well for the company. So it's a two-way street. Always see it that way. Let's see here. So we talked about the assets and being your own company. Those are two big things that I've always followed. Knowledge. I know a lot of you are in school. So as far as knowledge goes, knowledge is key. All right, you'll hear people say cash is king. However, and entrepreneurs don't get into business to just work. They want to earn money. So you hear cash is king. However, with knowledge, you can earn and obtain more cash. So make sure when you stay in school, when you're at a workplace, you're asking questions on how things work. Learn how to use references. The world is so lucky right now that there is an internet that you can Google any question you've got and pretty much find out the answer at your fingertips right now. 20 years ago, that wasn't available. When I was first wanting to be an entrepreneur, it wasn't available. You had to look up documents, make phone calls, things like that. So learn how to use your references, how to look things up quickly, and they can lead you in the right direction as far as starting up a business. Or even when you're running a business, oh man, what's the new tax code? Or find an accountant, or hey, this new material I've never machined before, how can I machine that? People are putting stuff online all the time. So learn how to use reference, look things up. You guys are probably really good at that. Let's see. And as far as knowledge goes, knowledge is also networking. You hear people say about networking. Knowledge isn't always what you have in your mind. Knowledge is people around you that you network with, that you can lean on them to ask them a question. When I was very, very nervous about starting my own company, and because I'd never done it before. I'd always worked for someone else, so I didn't know where my next paycheck was coming from. And I knew there was competition out there, especially with small business, big competition, and in the industry I'm in also with machine shops. But what surprised me is most small business owners, even though you're their competition, direct competition, they will help you. I've been blessed by the amount of small business owners, especially shops, machine shops around town, that the owners would pull me off to the side, and they didn't know me. They never knew me. They would pull me off to the side and ask me questions like, and give me advice, like, how big do you actually want to get? What do you want to work on? These are decisions you need to make. Do you want to be a small shop? Do you want to be a big shop? Other advice that they gave me. There's tons of it. They just hand out. But don't get me wrong, they're still your competition. Every day to day, they're going to compete against you. But they will lift you up if you need it. That's what I've been blessed with as an entrepreneur. So lean on that network also. Don't feel bad about calling your competition and asking them a question about, hey man, look, I've got this job that I've got to do and I'm having a hard time with it. Could you possibly quote it for me? A lot of times they'll tell you how to do it because they'll work with you because they've been there before. Most entrepreneurs have been where you've started. So I wanted to close a little bit with, I told my history of how I grew up and the family I had and what they taught me. And what I wanted to ask people is, if you had a similar upbringing or you're still living that life now, that's a good thing. That's fine. But if you didn't, don't worry about that either. Because entrepreneurs come from all walks of the earth, all corners. They're from everywhere, all different types of upbringings, all different types of, let's say, religions, or just everything. So don't think that you've got to come from this cookie cutter background in order to be an entrepreneur. Again, entrepreneurship is in your soul. It's something that you want to do. You're not going to be able to fight it because it's something you want to do. And you just have to work hard. And when it's a dream, you're going to work hard for it anyways. Let's see here. So if you play team sports or you're in marching band or anything like that, you've been around good leaders and bad leaders. And you know what it's like to work on a team. So, and everybody's responsible for their own little job in order for everyone to advance and be successful. Same goes with entrepreneurship and when you hire people and coming in there. One guy, the quarterback, does not win the game by himself. So the entrepreneur is not going to win that game by themselves. They have to build a team. So you've got to learn how to build a team, and you may already know, and to work alongside of people.
Mr. Brown, we've had the bell ring here, and
okay.
So we have students getting ready to leave, but you
All
just shared such great information. I just really appreciate it because you just added in there such value of asking questions and setting goals and being representing yourself well as a company as instead of just an employee. So I appreciate you joining
right.
in.
I hope I didn't take up
today.
too much time. I can get on a roll. So if there are
No,
any
questions,
if there are any questions or any advice anybody wants to seek, Pam has my email. Someone can get a hold of her, and she has my contact information. And I, just like the other entrepreneurs that helped me, I'm more than willing to help someone.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.